War movies flood Hollywood every year, but which ones actually get it right? Combat veterans cringe at most blockbusters that claim authenticity. Did you know one film on our list employed over 500 actual military veterans as extras and advisors? Today we're ranking the movies that made real soldiers say, that's exactly what it was like. Number 15, Jarhead, 2005. Jarhead stripped away the heroic nonsense and showed what modern warfare actually feels like. Endless boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. Based on Anthony Swofford's Gulf War memoir, Jake Gyllenhaal portrays a Marine sniper whose greatest enemy becomes the mind-numbing wait for combat that never arrives. Director Sam Mendes consulted dozens of Desert Storm veterans to nail the psychological toll of deployment, from the brutal training to the surreal desert landscapes that became home for months on end. The production went hardcore on authenticity, with cast members enduring a truncated version of actual Marine boot camp supervised by retired drill instructors. Gyllenhaal lost 25 pounds and trained with actual scout snipers to master their techniques. What veterans praise most about this film isn't the action but the emotional truth. The scene where Marines watch Apocalypse Now and cheer for the violence perfectly captures military dark humor. Former Marine Staff Sergeant William Sykes, who served in Desert Storm, called it the first war film that actually showed how much of combat deployment is just sitting around losing your mind. Critics initially dismissed it as a war movie where nothing happens, missing the entire point. With a budget of $70 million, it barely broke even domestically, but found a devoted following among veterans who recognized their experience in its unflinching portrayal of military boredom, frustration, and brotherhood. Number 14. Das Boot, 1981. Imagine being trapped in a metal tube 150 feet underwater while depth charges explode all around you. Das Boot delivers the most claustrophobic war experience ever filmed. Director Wolfgang Petersen locked his actors in an actual submarine replica for months, filming in chronological order as the crew grew increasingly haggard and mentally drained. The result: the most authentic submarine movie ever made according to veterans of underwater warfare. The film's technical advisor, former U-boat officer Hans-Joachim Krug, insisted on excruciating accuracy. The set was built to exact specifications of a Type 7C U-boat, so cramped that camera operators had to develop specialized equipment just to film inside. The actors weren't allowed to go outside during sunny days to maintain their pale, vitamin D-deprived appearance. When veteran submariners saw the film, many reportedly had to leave theaters during the depth charge sequences because the trauma was too real. German naval historians have called it 98% accurate to actual combat experiences, with only minor details changed for dramatic effect. Originally filmed as a 5-hour miniseries for German TV, even the shortened theatrical cut maintains an almost documentary-level realism. Actor Jürgen Prochnow later met American submarine veterans who approached him saying, "I was your enemy, but this film shows exactly what we all went through." The film's exhausting 981-day shoot nearly drove the cast to actual mental breakdowns, proving that sometimes suffering for art creates authenticity that cannot be faked. Number 13. The Thin Red Line, 1998. Terrence Malick's haunting masterpiece refuses easy war movie cliches, and instead delivers what jungle combat veterans call the most accurate portrayal of what fighting in the Pacific actually felt like. The Thin Red Line follows C Company soldiers during the Guadalcanal campaign, capturing both the savage brutality and strange beauty of warfare. What makes this film stand apart is how it shows combat as experienced rather than just observed, with natural sounds, disorienting perspectives, and the maddening contrast between violence and natural beauty. Before filming, Malick had the entire cast live in the Australian jungle for weeks, sleeping outdoors and learning actual Wutu-era combat techniques from military advisors. Veterans praise its authentic portrayal of how soldiers actually move under fire, the terrifying chaos of not knowing where shots are coming from, and the psychological dissolution that comes from sustained combat stress. The film's famous hill assault sequence, with tall grass obscuring visibility, has been cited by Pacific Theater veterans as exactly what it was like to never see the enemy until they were right on top of you. Number 12. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. Stanley Kubrick's psychological gut punch delivers the most accurate boot camp experience ever put on film, according to countless Marine veterans. The first half follows Private Joker through the hellish transformation from civilian to killer at Paris Island, while the second throws viewers into the chaotic urban warfare of the Tet Offensive. What makes this film legendary is how it reveals the mental conditioning required to turn ordinary men into machines capable of taking human life. R. Lee Ermey, the terrifying drill instructor, wasn't even supposed to be in the film. Originally hired as a technical advisor, this actual Marine drill instructor so impressed Kubrick with his authenticity that the director fired the actor and gave Ermey the role. Almost 50% of his dialogue was improvised from his real-life experience breaking down recruits. Vietnam veterans report watching the boot camp sequences with physical symptoms of PTSD, so accurate was the psychological torment portrayed. The film's stark contrast between the controlled environment of training and the chaotic urban combat in Hue City demonstrates what veterans call the military reality gap, where nothing learned in training truly prepares you for actual combat. Kubrick's clinical, detached directing style perfectly captures the dissociation soldiers experience during extreme violence. As one Marine veteran put it, other war movies show what combat looks like from the outside. Full Metal Jacket shows what it feels like from the inside of your head. The film grossed $120 million worldwide against a $30 million budget, proving that unflinching realism can still find an audience. Number 11, Black Hawk Down, 2001. Black Hawk Down throws viewers into the most intense 100 minutes of sustained combat ever filmed, replicating the infamous 1993 Battle of Mogadishu, where what should have been a simple 30-minute mission turned into a 15-hour nightmare. Director Ridley Scott assembled the largest military advisor team in film history, including multiple Rangers who survived the actual battle, to ensure every radio call, movement technique, and equipment detail was picture-perfect. The production's commitment to realism was obsessive. Actors underwent accelerated Army Ranger training with actual Delta Force operators. The helicopter pilots performing the film's stunts were the same ones who flew in the original mission. When the real veterans visited the set, built in Morocco to replicate Somalia, many reported experiencing flashbacks because the environment was so identical to what they'd experienced. Even the enemy fighters were portrayed with tactical accuracy rather than Hollywood stereotypes. Multiple combat veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan have cited this film's sound design as the most accurate representation of modern combat ever recorded. One Army Ranger who served multiple tours described it, the overlapping radio chatter. The way the gunfire echoes differently between buildings, the specific sound bullets make passing your head, they got it all exactly right. The film faced criticism for simplifying complex geopolitics, but its minute-by-minute recreation of small-unit tactics in urban warfare remains the gold standard. As one veteran technical advisor stated, "If you want to know what modern combat feels like when everything goes wrong, this is as close as civilians will ever get." Number 10. Come and See, 1985 Soviet masterpiece. Come and See delivers the most psychologically devastating portrayal of war ever filmed, showing the Nazi occupation of Belarus through the eyes of teenage partisan Flyora. Director Elem Klimov used actual ammunition fired over actors' heads, creating genuine terror you can see in their eyes. Belarusian veterans who survived the occupation call it the only film that captures the madness we lived through. Military historians have verified that the brutal village massacre scenes accurately depict documented Nazi atrocities in Belarus, where over 628 villages were destroyed and their inhabitants slaughtered. The film's most haunting achievement is how it shows war's psychological disintegration through Flyora's increasingly traumatized face. Soviet-era combat veterans reported being unable to finish watching the film, with one former partisan fighter stating, "This isn't a movie about war. This is what war does to the human soul." The film was initially shelved by Soviet censors for being too disturbing, only finding wider release during Glasnost. Modern combat psychologists have analyzed the film as the most accurate portrayal of combat-induced psychosis ever depicted. As one veteran advisor to the film put it, "Most war movies show what men do in war. This shows what war does to men." Number 9, Fury, 2014. Fury smashes through Hollywood tank movie cliches with the most technically accurate portrayal of armored warfare ever filmed. Director David Ayer recruited veterans from the Army's 2nd Armored Division to ensure authenticity, using actual W-2 tanks including the last operational Tiger I tank in the world. What veterans praise about this film isn't just the equipment, but the psychological pressure cooker of living inside a metal box while enemy fire pings off the hull. The cast's preparation was brutal. Brad Pitt and his co-stars lived in their tank for weeks during filming, sleeping, and eating inside to build authentic crew dynamics. They trained with actual tank commanders, learning every crew position. The film's technical consultant, tank veteran Staff Sergeant David Ray, insisted that every radio call, loading sequence, and mechanical detail be historically perfect. Veterans especially praised the film's portrayal of the horrific cleanup inside tanks after crew members are hit, something other films conveniently ignore. What makes Fury stand out is its unflinching portrayal of combat exhaustion. The thousand-yard stares, the callousness toward death, the bizarre humor that develops as a coping mechanism. As one armor officer who served in Iraq put it, the scene where they sit down for dinner in the German apartment captures perfectly how surreal it feels to attempt normalcy minutes after extreme violence. While some criticize the final battle as Hollywood excess, military historians note it was based on the real-life stand of Audie Murphy, who held off hundreds of German troops while calling artillery on his own position. With a $68 million budget and $201 million box office, Fury proved authentic military experiences can still draw audiences. Number 8. 1917, 2019. 1917 revolutionized war films with its technical wizardry, creating the illusion of a single continuous shot that mirrors the relentless nightmare of WWI trench warfare. Director Sam Mendes based the film on stories told by his grandfather, a messenger in the British Army. Veterans and military historians praise its portrayal of no man's land, which wasn't just a battlefield but a grotesque wasteland of decomposing bodies, mud-filled craters, and tangles of barbed wire that could trap soldiers for hours. The production consulted extensively with WWI experts to create historically accurate trenches, uniforms, and combat techniques. Military advisors included retired soldiers who specialized in WWI tactics and equipment. What veterans particularly appreciate is the film's authentic portrayal of messenger duty, one of the most dangerous jobs with an average life expectancy of just 36 hours in intense battles. The sequence where Lance Corporal Schofield cuts his hand on barbed wire and continues his mission with an increasingly infected wound represents the brutal reality that most WWI deaths came from infection rather than direct combat. The film's attention to tactical details impressed military historians, who noted the accuracy of German booby traps, the realistic portrayal of artillery flash blindness, and the depiction of how soldiers actually navigated using landmarks rather than maps. As one British Army veteran historian stated, what 1917 gets right that most war films miss is the geographic confusion of combat. Men often had no idea where they were, following directions like past the dead horse, left at the blasted tree. The film earned $384.9 million against a $100 million budget, proving that historical accuracy can achieve both critical and commercial success. Number 7. We Were Soldiers, 2002. We Were Soldiers delivers the most authentic portrayal of Vietnam's early battles, based on Richard Cole Halmore's first-hand account of the brutal fighting at Ia Drang Valley. What separates this film from other Vietnam movies is its refusal to use the war as political commentary, instead focusing on tactical reality and the unprecedented challenges of helicopter warfare that neither side fully understood. Military veterans praise its balanced portrayal of both American and North Vietnamese soldiers as competent professionals rather than caricatures. Director Randall Wallace hired over 100 Vietnam veterans as technical advisors, including many who fought in the actual battle portrayed. The production meticulously recreated the equipment, uniforms, and tactics of 1965, a very different war than the later Vietnam most films portray. Veterans particularly praise the film's realistic radio chatter, helicopter loading procedures, and the chaotic confusion of the battle's early moments when American forces first encountered the unexpected strategy of North Vietnamese troops who hugged the belt to neutralize American air superiority. What makes the film exceptional is its unflinching portrayal of the battlefield medical reality. Veterans who served as combat medics cite it as the only film that accurately shows their harrowing work, from the overwhelming casualties to the impossible triage decisions. The film's most powerful scene shows a young soldier dying while writing a letter home, based on a real incident documented by Moore. As one veteran of the battle stated, most Vietnam films get the politics, but this one gets the fighting right. With a $75 million budget and $114.7 million box office, it proved audiences would embrace an apolitical look at a politically charged conflict when presented with authentic combat experiences. Number 6. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. Steven Spielberg's D-Day masterpiece rewrote the rules for combat realism with its opening 24 minutes of pure visceral chaos on Omaha Beach. Spielberg hired numerous WW2 veterans as consultants, including D-Day survivors who walked the actual filming locations to ensure geographic accuracy. The production's commitment to authenticity extended to the smallest details, From the specific barnacles on the Czech hedgehogs to the exact weight of waterlogged uniforms that drowned countless soldiers. The film's legendary opening sequence caused PTSD episodes among WY2 veterans during screenings, with many having to leave theaters. Department of Veterans Affairs set up special counseling hotlines after the film's release to handle the surge in WE2 veterans seeking help for reactivated trauma. Military historians praise the film's portrayal of combat ineffectiveness, showing how many soldiers froze under fire, a reality typically airbrushed from war narratives but instantly recognizable to combat veterans. What sets this film apart from typical war movies is its sound design. Veterans specifically cite the distinctive ping of M1 Garand clips ejecting, the difference between incoming and outgoing fire, and the muffled underwater sequences as triggering physical reactions because they so perfectly captured combat acoustics. As one Normandy veteran told Spielberg, "You didn't make a movie about D-Day, you actually put me back there." With a $70 million budget and $482 million worldwide gross, Saving Private Ryan proved that uncompromising realism could achieve massive commercial success while permanently raising the bar for combat authenticity in cinema. Number 5. Platoon, 1986. Oliver Stone didn't just make a movie about Vietnam. He made the movie that made actual Vietnam veterans say, "That's exactly what it was like." As a combat veteran himself who earned a Bronze Star and Purple Heart with the 25th Infantry Division, Stone poured his personal experiences into every frame. Military veterans particularly praise its authentic portrayal of unit dynamics, showing the internal conflicts between soldiers that most war films sanitize away. The production's commitment to realism was brutal. The actors underwent a compressed version of basic training and were intentionally sleep-deprived throughout filming. They carried full combat loads in the Philippine jungle heat, weren't allowed to shower, and lived in actual foxholes between shooting days. Many reported developing trench foot and jungle rot, the same ailments that plagued real Vietnam soldiers. The physical exhaustion you see on screen isn't acting. What veterans consistently cite as Platoon's greatest achievement is its portrayal of the moral ambiguity that defined the Vietnam experience. The scene where American troops destroy a village captures the confusion, rage, and shame that many veterans still grapple with decades later. As one former infantryman put it, "Other Vietnam films show the politics or the action. Platoon shows what it did to our souls." Made for just $6 million, the film grossed $138.5 million and won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, legitimizing Stone's uncompromising approach to combat realism. Even the Department of Defense, which refused to support the film during production, later acknowledged its value in helping civilians understand the psychological complexity of the Vietnam experience. Number 4. Hacksaw Ridge, 2016. Mel Gibson's World War II epic about conscientious objector Desmond Doss delivers the most visceral portrayal of Pacific theater combat ever filmed. Military medical veterans particularly praise its unflinching depiction of battlefield trauma, with one former combat medic stating, "This is the first film that shows exactly what we face when trying to save lives under fire." The production employed dozens of WW2 veterans as consultants to ensure every detail of the Battle of Okinawa was portrayed with absolute accuracy. The film's battlefield sequences on Hacksaw Ridge were filmed using practical effects rather than CGI whenever possible, with Gibson insisting that the explosions, fire, and debris actually interact with the actors. Military historians praise the film's accurate portrayal of Japanese defensive tactics, including the use of tunnel systems, fake surrenders, and booby-trapped corpses that claimed countless American lives. Veterans particularly note the film's realistic depiction of the psychological breaking point many soldiers reached after days of sustained combat. What sets this film apart is its portrayal of battlefield medicine in the Pacific Campaign, where medics faced challenges unique to island fighting. From treating maggot-infested wounds to the difficult evacuations down cliff faces, the film captures the improvised nature of trauma care that saved countless lives. As one Okinawa veteran consultant said, "The noise, confusion, and terror of those ridges is something I've never seen captured correctly until this film." Made for $40 million, the film grossed $175.3 million worldwide, proving that uncompromising realism can find commercial success. The real Desmond Doss's son reported that veterans who served with his father confirmed the film's accuracy, with one stating, "They finally got it right." Number 3. Letters from Iwo Jima, 2006. Clint Eastwood delivered the most authentic portrayal of Japanese soldiers ever created by an American director, showing the brutal Battle of Iwo Jima, from the perspective of the defenders. Military historians from both America and Japan praised the film's unprecedented accuracy, with one Japanese defense expert calling it the first American film to correctly portray the tactical and psychological reality of Japanese island defense. Eastwood consulted extensively with Japanese WW veterans and military historians to ensure cultural and military authenticity. The production's commitment to detail was extraordinary. The entire film was shot in Japanese with proper military dialects from the era. The set designers rebuilt the actual tunnel systems using original Japanese Army engineering manuals, creating the claustrophobic underground network where many defenders spent their final days. Military veterans particularly praised the film's portrayal of the Japanese resource shortages, showing soldiers collecting their own urine to cool overheated machine guns when water ran out. The film correctly shows the strategic shifts in Japanese defense doctrine during the late war period, from beach defense to interior defense in depth. Made for $19 million, it grossed $70.6 million worldwide and earned multiple Academy Award nominations, proving that audiences would embrace an empathetic portrayal of historical adversaries when presented with authentic combat experiences. Number 2. Generation Kill, 2008. HBO's 7-part miniseries based on Evan Wright's embedded reporting with Marine Recon during the 2003 invasion of Iraq achieved a level of military authenticity that veterans call almost documentary-like. Though technically a series rather than a film, it earns its place here because combat veterans consistently rank it as the most accurate portrayal of modern warfare ever filmed. The production hired actual Marines from the unit portrayed, including the real-life Sergeant Brad Colbert and several others who played themselves or served as technical advisors. What makes Generation Kill revolutionary is its refusal to dramatize or sensationalize. It shows the mundane reality of modern war, the bureaucratic absurdity, equipment failures, and confused command structures that defined the early Iraq War. Veterans particularly praise its authentic portrayal of tactical vehicle movements, radio procedures, and the gallows humor that develops as a coping mechanism. The scene where Marines accidentally shoot civilians at a checkpoint captures the tragic reality of combat zones where split-second decisions have devastating consequences. The production's attention to detail extended to the smallest elements of military life, from the correct placement of gear to the specific ways Marines fold their sleeves. As one Iraq veteran put it, "I can't watch this without physical reactions because the small details trigger actual muscle memory from deployment." The series even accurately portrays the internal tensions between enlisted Marines and officers, the frustration with ever-changing rules of engagement, and the moral complexity of urban warfare where combatants and civilians blend together. With its unflinching realism and refusal to either glorify or condemn, Generation Kill stands as the definitive portrayal of America's early 21st century conflicts, according to those who actually fought them. Number 1. Dunkirk, 2017. Christopher Nolan's masterpiece tops our list because it's the only film that perfectly captures what veterans call the sensory reality of combat. Instead of explaining the history or politics of the 1940 evacuation, Nolan drops viewers directly into the visceral experience of soldiers trapped on that beach. Military historians praise its unprecedented accuracy in portraying the psychological phenomenon of survival focus, where combat participants experience extreme sensory sensitivity but narrowed cognitive awareness. The production's technical authenticity was obsessive. Nolan filmed on the actual beaches of Dunkirk. He used real World War II ships, including several that participated in the original evacuation. For aerial sequences, the production employed actual Spitfires with IMAX cameras mounted in the cockpits, capturing the claustrophobic reality fighter pilots experienced. Veterans particularly praise the film's sound design, which uses specific audio frequencies that trigger physical stress responses, replicating how combat actually feels rather than just how it looks. So there you have it, the 15 war films that get the brutal reality right according to those who lived through it. Veterans consistently praise these movies not for their explosions or hero moments, but for capturing the psychological truth of combat. But here's the controversial question that divides military viewers. Does absolute realism actually make for better cinema? Or do we sometimes need the sanitized Hollywood version to process the unimaginable horrors of war? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us which realistic war film hit you the hardest.